Hi, I'm Brickroad, and it's been a minute since we played some Risk of Rain, but I have a decent idea in mind here, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to play as the Huntress, who is known for being the easiest character in the game, but I think she's only the easiest character if you play on, like, Drizzle difficulty, or maybe even Rainstorm. On Monsoon, I think the Huntress is actually very weak, but here's the artifacts we're going to play with. We got Glass turned on, so we're going to do a bunch of damage and probably get one-shotted quite a bit. I've got Enigma turned on, so our use items will have a random effect, for reasons that will become clear. And I've got Sacrifice turned on, so monsters will drop items instead of having to worry about hunting down chests. I'm also going to keep Origin turned on, so we get the King of the Imps invading the map every 10 minutes. So let's talk about the Huntress. First of all, you can see I've got 9 hit points down there. That's what she starts at on Glass, 9 hit points. She is the epitome of a glass cannon, even if you're not on the glass artifacts. But to really be a glass cannon, because the Huntress really doesn't qualify, to really be a glass cannon, there's my teleporter, but I'm not going to hit it yet. To really be a glass cannon, you've got to be able to dish out a lot of damage. And the Huntress really can't. Let's walk through her skills here. This is her main attack. This is called Strafe, and not only can she move while firing, but she can, if the enemies are close enough to her, she'll automatically target enemies that are nearest to her, even if that means she walks backwards. This is actually a good kill floor. We're going to stay up here, I believe. We're also going to move my mouse cursor out of the way, so it's not just sitting there on top of my item the whole time. So yeah, this Strafe ability is a really good, just regular attack, but if you're not playing on glass, it doesn't do a lot of damage. You got to shoot a lot in order to kill monsters. So the idea is that you strafe kind of backwards like this, so you're always in a position of safety when you're firing. That's the monster tooth. That's going to heal every time we kill monsters. We'll get little green bubbles that'll flow in and heal us of damage. Her other attacks, she's got this dash that I just demonstrated there, the teleport dash. She's got this glaive that ricochets off monsters, and she's got the exploding arrow right there. Those are her 3 attacks. So her main weakness is all of her attacks only fire on her vertical level. She doesn't have any verticality except her jump. That's it. The glaive attack can hit monsters on a different vertical level, but she can only fire it straight forward. We do have the head stompers now, so we can Mario stomp monsters if we fall onto their heads from above. That might come in useful if we get into any like jar of ants situations later in the game. But that's her primary weakness, is she doesn't deal a lot of damage, and she can only fire in a straight line with all 3 of her attacks. If there's a monster on my vertical level, and then there's one nearby, but like above or below, the glaive will ricochet off of it and then hit a couple of monsters. And that's also her only attack that can pierce. Like right there, we saw the glaive do its thing a little bit. So the glaive, it doesn't pierce, but it ricochets off of other monsters, so she can hit more than one monster at a time. So it's a very weak pierce. She's got weak attacks, weak pierce, and weak verticality. And those are the cons of the Huntress. The reason she's considered by some to be the easiest class in the game is because you don't really have to think very hard about playing Huntress. You pretty much just hit all of her skills whenever they come up when you're fighting monsters. Just whatever attack she's got queued up, that's the one she wants. There we go. Will-o'-the-Wisp will be nice. So every time we kill a monster, we might blow them up and detonate nearby monsters. That's going to be important for her because, like I said, she doesn't have a lot of pierce. So that AoE attack is going to be very, very useful. What I'm doing is I'm farming on the first level, waiting for a very specific drop. Because we have the Enigma artifact turned on, our use item is always going to be a random item. And any time a monster would drop a use item, instead of dropping an orange item, it will instead drop a passive item called the Small Enigma, which reduces the cooldown of our random Enigma item a little bit. And after we get enough of those Enigmas, we basically have infinite use item. So we're going to be farming on this level for a little while, which is good, because I got a lot of stuff I want to talk about as far as when it comes to Risk of Rain and why I haven't played it in a long time. I actually played it on the channel. Like, I went real hard on it for a little while, getting a bunch of different characters out. There's my crowbar. So now a monster that hasn't been hit yet will take a little bit of bonus damage. So we stack a couple of those, and we can dish out quite a bit of damage. It'll be nice. But the original plan was I wanted to get 10 Risk of Rain Let's Plays on the channel. I wanted to get one for every player character in the game. I started out with my favorite class, which is the Sniper, and I went through a bunch of the other ones I did. What all have I done off memory here? I've done Commando, Acrid, I've done Engineer, Loader, Chef, and I think one other one that I'm forgetting at the moment. But I was kind of saving Huntress because, first of all, she's considered to be like the easiest class in the game. And I didn't want to just do a regular Huntress run, because that's not that difficult. On Monsoon, it can be tricky because she's a very item-dependent character. If she doesn't get the right items early enough, it's very, very hard to keep the Huntress alive. Every character in this game is item-dependent. That's no secret. But the Huntress, in particular, can be very, very tricky to keep alive. There's our Bustling Fungus, and I can just stand still and heal. Healing is not really good on this character, though, because she has so little defense. The one-shots are real for Huntress, so what we really want is some defense and not so much healing. So I didn't really just want to do a regular Huntress run. Like, I wanted to do something a little different with Huntress, and I had the idea to do it, and now I'm doing it. So, we are going to have a gimmick in this run, but I don't want to reveal quite what it is yet, unless you've already read the title of the playlist, in which case, I mean, thank you for actually reading the title of my playlist. I'm actually, I worry about that sometimes, because I spend so much time coming up with video titles and playlist titles and video descriptions. I don't know how many people actually read those things, but every character, like I said, is item dependent. Like, you cannot be successful in Risk of Rain if you don't get good items. Fortunately, the game has enough good items in it that as long as you get any items, you're usually okay, provided you have a little bit of practice at the game. As long as you kind of know what you're doing and have your head about you, like if you know how to make the decision points in the game work in your favor, or if you just play on sacrifice like I do and kind of eliminate the decision points altogether, you're pretty okay. But some characters are weaker than others, and the Huntress is one of the weakest characters. What that basically means is, that's a good item, that's our charge field generator. So this will put a little circle around us every time we kill a monster. That'll get bigger the more monsters we kill. Let's not get blasted by you. I'm really worried about those greater wisps one-shotting me on this level while we're farming up. But yeah, any enemy inside that white circle will just take some damage. So that'll give us a little bit of verticality to play with. So what the Huntress really wants is mobility items. She wants to be fast. She wants to be able to jump high and jump a lot. So goat hooves, hopo feathers, rusty jetpacks, that's the kind of thing the Huntress really, really wants. As far as attack items go, any item that has a chance to do something on hit is really good for Huntress. Like anything that has a chance to add a bleed effect or a poison effect or a little bit of extra damage or crit chance or anything like that is really good on Huntress. But there's so many of those items in the game, and it kind of doesn't matter which ones she gets. There's our barbed wire, which is kind of like the junior charge field generator. That gives us a permanent halo of damage around us, but it's much smaller, and I think it does less damage than the charge field generator does. So that's the weakness of the Huntress. Compare her just to a much stronger character. Like, I think the Loader is incredibly strong. I think the Loader is one of the strongest characters in the game. Or even the Commando, who is just a really good all-around character. As long as they get items, they'll be in good shape. It kind of doesn't matter what items they get. As long as they get a little something, you know, to put in their back pocket, they'll be in good shape. They'll be fine. But other characters, like the Huntress is one, Handy is another, the Enforcer, and like I would say even the Bandit, who's not one of my favorite characters in the game. They really kind of need a particular kind of item to be successful. There's our first Small Enigma. We're want to get a lot of those. We want a lot of those. There's another one, actually. Another one just dropped right there. So if we didn't have Enigma turned on, the Enigma artifact turned on, that would have been our first use item, right there. But instead of a use item, because we've got the Enigma artifact turned on, it dropped that Small Enigma instead. And now my use item down there, the cooldown on it is a little bit shorter. My first successful runs in Risk of Rain were all with the Huntress on the easier difficulty levels. My first breaking run with Risk of Rain was the Huntress. And there's a second Monster Tooth. Again, good item. I like the healing, but healing is not really what we want to see on Huntress. We need survivability and mobility. So what we really need is something like a Guardian Heart to give us a little bit of a damage shield. Infusion obviously is the best item in the game. The teddy bear that gives us just a blanket damage reduction would be nice. Basically anything that prevents us from being one-shotted would be wonderful. You see we're level 11 now, we still only got like 90 hit points down there. It's going to be very, very difficult as the difficulty climbs higher and higher. It's going to get harder and harder. There's a sticky bomb. This is one of the weapons I was talking about. It has a chance to do something on hit. Every time I hit, and she hits a lot because she fires really, really fast. Ooh, took a lot of damage there too. Hey, we got fireman. Is that fireman's boots? That is fireman's boots. So now there'll be fire just everywhere I walk, which is nice. That's doubly good for her because I can be walking and firing at monsters coming in behind me, and they gotta walk through my fire, which I'm sure doesn't make them feel very smart. So, let me kind of describe, just in case this is the first time you've seen Risk of Rain, even though I've done a bunch of Let's Plays of it. If this is your first time watching a Let's Play of Risk of Rain, it is a roguelite game. It's randomly generated to some extent. The biggest random factor is what items you get in this game. There's a mortar. That's another on-hit. Actually, I think it's an on-attack. Every time I attack, it's got a chance to fire off one of these mortars, which is beautiful. That's the kind of stuff we want to see. But there are enough of those kind of items in the game that it kind of doesn't matter which ones drop. Just as long as one of them does drop, we'll be in good shape. It's not a random factor, but the other factor that makes it a roguelite is basically the game gets more difficult. This will help us evade attacks, the Hermit Scarf. The game gets more difficult as time goes on. You see a difficulty counter up on the top of the screen. Right now it is in like the reddish-orange level, and it says hard. As time goes on, that'll go up and up and up. And I've never like hex edited the game. I'm not a hacker or anything like that. But I have played the game for hundreds of hours. I think about 300 hours played in Risk of Rain at this point. And I think the way it works, I'm going to describe how I think the difficulty setting in the game works, how the difficulty goes up. It's our fire shield. Retaliate on taking heavy damage. I really would rather not take damage. So that's not a great item to get. But hey, I'll pick it up. Why not? I think what happens is there's a hidden variable in the game that is kind of your like kind of a risk value that the game just continually ticks up no matter what else is happening. I'm just going to stand up here and let him take damage. Oh, no, he's a teleporter guy. That was almost bad for me. I forgot, yellow elites are teleporter guys. So, every second of gameplay, I'm pretty sure it ticks up this risk value, and then it periodically, the game will use that risk value to spawn in monsters. Like, every monster has like a cost associated with it. And I think that's why you tend to see monsters spawn in packs. Because the game ticks up and it's like, okay, it's time to spawn for some monsters. How much of this risk value do I have? Oh, I've got enough for, say, a whole pack of Lemurians or something. It's also why you tend to not see enemies within the first, like, 30 seconds of the game or so. There's a boss there. Like, right there I had enough to spawn in a boss. Because we're at very hard now. So he drops some meat nuggets, which is another kind of lackluster healing item, and a small enigma. So, I mean, we got 3 of those small enigmas now. So as the game goes up, every difficulty level, it gets harder and harder because the game has more and more capacity to spawn in harder monsters. And even on this first level, we're going to get to the point pretty quickly, if we don't get some amazing items, where it becomes very, very dangerous. Because after we're done spawning in like the regular monsters, we have to worry about elite monsters. Those are the colored ones. This yellow elite here that I was crying about a minute ago or so, he's a teleporting elite. He teleports to your position, and that can be dangerous. So that's the whole deal of the game. The 3 difficulty levels you can set are Drizzle, Rainstorm, and Monsoon. And I'm pretty sure the difference between them... Whoa! 2 teleporters up there. That's... Okay, we're going to take you from across the gap, I think. There you go, buddy. The difference is how fast does that difficulty meter go up. On Drizzle, it goes up much slower. On Monsoon, which is what I'm playing on, it goes up much, much faster. So that's kind of how the game works. And then from there, the random roguelite elements are all dealing with like what items drop and when. Right now you're seeing monsters drop items. That's not how the game works by default. It's because I have an artifact turned on, which is a game mutator that makes enemies spawn in items. There's a Small Enigma and a knife, which has a chance to do some bleed, and a soldier's syringe, which make my attack faster, and a first aid kit, which every time I take damage, after a second or two, I will heal a little bit. So I've got a lot of redundant healing. Again, though, the problem we're going to have with Huntress is the one-shots. Getting into a situation where we take enough damage in a short amount of time, like if 2 or 3 enemies hit us within just a couple of frames of each other, that's what we're going to be really worried about. This is probably the best roguelite I've played. Like I said, I've got a couple hundred hours in this. The second most played one I have, that's an infusion. That's the best item in the game. Every time I kill an enemy now, it'll give me a little bit of maximum health. And if we don't die in the next like 5 or 10 minutes here, we should be in good shape to blitz the whole game from there. I don't like this wisp here. Yeah, you know what? Can we just kill him from here? Inside my charge field? No, not all hanging on a ladder, I don't think. I don't like him there. Let's see if we can glaive him with the help of this jellyfish. Yeah. Okay, if he's over there, that might be better. Okay, that was better. That was better. Whew! But now you're seeing these like red blood trails. Not that was a missile, but these red blood trails, every time I kill a monster, will snake across the screen. Every time I get one of those, my max HP goes up a little bit. Eventually, my max HP will be high enough that surviving will be trivial. And that's how you get a breaking run going in Risk of Rain. You basically play long enough to get the infusion, and then survive long enough with the infusion to make the rest of the game super easy. And eventually you have every item in the game, and then by that, after that point, you reach a point where you've stacked items enough to where you're attacking lightning fast, and etc., etc. And it gets really fun. Just beating the game, just getting to the end and beating the last boss and rolling the credits is not that difficult. I've done that many, many, many dozens of times. The breaking runs are really where the fun of the game is. That Blighted Wisp is kind of scary. He will also teleport to my position, and he does a lot more damage than a regular enemy. I'm pretty well convinced that he can kill me. There's another healing item. My critical hits will heal now. Ooh, okay, okay. We gotta play this real careful. In fact, I'm gonna take a loop around here. I'm gonna walk down this way. I don't like being on the bottom level because there's no like real outs unless you're standing next to one of these ropes. But I kind of want to avoid that whole area up top there from the middle. Coming at it from the side will be a lot better from here. Yeah, that's better. And that Blighted Wisp up there, that was a lot of damage. Let's not die here. There we go. Okay. I mean, the healing is pretty real. That wasn't a one-shot attack. That was definitely a two-shot. But if he had hit me again before all my healing kicked in, my monster teeth and my first aid kits and whatnot, that Wisp is on me now. He will definitely one-shot me. Let's leave him in the dusts. Let's leave him for as long as we can. If he's just hanging out over there, maybe he won't bother me. There's a magma worm. Fireworks. Those will be not useful at all for a very, very, very long time, but they will be very, very fun before the end of this run, I promise. Well, okay, I can't promise that because I might die, and if I do die, then it won't be fun at all. That Blighted Wisp up there, that invisible wisp with the health bar is almost dead.
Shoutouts to Not a Butt Face for sponsoring this video. and to everybody who helps make my channel possible by supporting me on Patreon.